Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you again for tuning in to the next episode of New Earth Practices. So, before we begin today's episode, I do have an announcement. Tomorrow, we're going to be starting a brand new live stream, which is called New Earth Insights, and this is basically a live Q&A on any topic. So, it's going to be starting tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time, and it's going to be continuing every Tuesday afterwards. So the New Earth practices are still going to continue this week, right? So for Wednesday and Thursday, we'll have some New Earth practice episodes as well too. But as we get into next week, New Earth practices will start once a week, every Thursday. Okay, so 2 more episodes to come this week. Then as we go into next week, Thursday next week will be New Earth practices, and of course Tuesday next week will be New Earth Insights. And then, of course, every Friday, we have New Earth TV Live, right? So I got 3 new live stream events coming forward each week. So I'm looking forward to this. And again, when you sign on tomorrow for the live stream, you can, again, ask any topic. It's basically just semi-personal or general questions altogether, but certainly on any topic that you wish. Very similar to what we do with the Q&A on Fridays, right? So it's just Q&A. And feel free to tune into that. I'm looking forward to it. And so, let's go ahead today and get started with New Earth practices. We're going to be talking about different brainwave states. But of course, before we begin, we're going to go into our exercises. We're going to go into our practices. All right. So let's just start off getting ourselves nice and relaxed, nice and comfortable, making sure the body is free of any tension. Okay. And the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to take a moment. And relax. And now we're going to go into some heart rate variability breathing. All right, so we're going to do some nasal breathing here, right? Into the nose, out the nose. We're going to do 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out for 1 minute. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and that's heart rate variability breathing, so you can continue to do it. I'm just doing the 1 minute demonstration for you guys. Again, as we're doing heart rate variability, right, our heart rate is starting to slow, our body is going into equilibrium, our parasympathetic nervous system is being stimulated, and again, we're going into these great health benefits through heart rate variability, but most importantly, we're going into the subtle state of being. And of course, we're going to continue that now by working with the peripheral pillars. All right, so just take a moment here, just having your index fingers up so that they function as peripheral pillars, so you're aware of them in your peripheral vision. Okay, and now I just want you to take in everything that you see right now, and take in everything that you smell right now, and take in everything that you hear right now, and take in everything that you touch right now, and take in everything that you taste right now. Right now, experiencing all 5 of those senses at the same time, right now. And breathe in, and breathe out. All right. Complete and total peace. Just a very tranquil mind. All the thoughts start to become silent, right? And that's exactly what we want. And the more that we just stay there, we're moving into the right brain, right? We're moving into the right hippocampus. We're moving into the left amygdala. And that's taking us into the right brain. And where is that taking us? What is the right brain? Right? It's the collective unconscious. It's the Akashic records. It's the Hall of Amenti. It's the God mind. Okay? It's the universal library. It's all that is. It's the big picture. And we're staying there. And as we start to really feel that subtle energy just coming over us, we feel like we're just in this expansive, spacious, beautiful calmness where we're seeing everything at once. This is again why we're taking in all 5 senses at once. Right? It makes the left brain quiet. It silences that chatty monkey mind. And then as we go into the right brain, we start to feel that spaciousness and that expansiveness. Now you may have an inquiry that you want to give to the right brain. You make that inquiry and you say, share with me a download after my meditation completes. Right? So you stay in your meditation for a bit. Once you're finished, the meditation download comes through. It happens to me every single time. It's a beautiful feeling. It's a beautiful sensation. So continue to work on this. Again, it's very, very simple. You just witnessed the entire process. That's all we're doing to go into the right brain. We're keeping ourselves quiet. Right? So one of the things as well, too, because people have, very, very intense analytical minds. So, well, Brad, I may try and get quiet as best I can, but I feel like there's still things that come up even when I'm doing that exercise. So what you want to do is, again, just have a notepad here, right? Have a notepad or have a journal, okay? And what I want you to do is I want you to logically feel like you are resolving whatever thoughts are coming up, right? If there's something, what about my car payment? I got to make a car payment tomorrow. I can't forget that. Well, then this is why we have a pen and paper. And we write that down saying, yes, I'll be taking care of that after my meditation. I'll deal with that. No problem. Okay? So that's written down on a piece of paper. So what you're doing is you're practically resolving these nagging thoughts as an additional help to keeping them quiet so that you can go into meditation and you can go into the right brain. Right? So if you do have those nagging thoughts that just don't seem to stay quiet, because it's looking for a resolution, right? It's just a big question mark. What am I going to do about this? Take out a notepad, write something down that represents the resolution to that thought, knowing that you're going to take care of it after your meditation, and that's your promise. And then you set the piece of paper down, you set the pen down, and now you're in harmony. Now you're ready to go. Okay? So that's an additional help for people that may have that very heavy, nagging, analytical, chatty monkey mind. Okay? So don't be afraid to do that. Just write something down that'll help with your resolution, and then you move on, right? This is why I say it's very important that we have a notebook, right? We're working with a notebook constantly. So if I notice that I'm just having a lot of these thoughts that are coming up, if I'm already doing BCR technique with a lot of these things, right? But there's still just some of these thoughts that just come up. They're just these big question marks. Well, I have my notebook here. I have my notepad here. I'm writing something down, and I'm resolving that. Therefore, it's not lingering on my mind, preventing myself from going into that concentration, right? To go deeply into the right brain. Because again, the whole idea is we want to keep ourselves in a low idle state, in a subtle state. Okay. Now, there's another trick I can teach you guys before I get into today's topic as well. This is actually from Forrest Knudsen. Okay, so there's Forrest Knudsen's YouTube channel that I recommend you guys checking out. Okay. But one of the things he was sharing as well too is what's known as the Kachari mudra. Okay. Now the Kachari mudra is probably one of the most challenging mudras to do. So we're not actually looking into the Kachari mudra itself. We're looking into the Kachari mudra alternative. So Brad, what do you mean by the Kachari mudra? Well, it involves your tongue. So basically what you're doing is you're rolling your tongue all the way back right behind the uvula, that little flap, the back of your mouth, right? You would roll it all the way back and you would actually insert the tongue up into the nasopharynx, right? And what that does is that actually helps to completely neutralize the left brain. The left brain becomes completely neutralized and there's a ceasing of all chatting, right? The chatteriness of the left brain ceases when you're actually able to take the tongue and again slide it up the nasopharynx. And what that does is that will completely cancel out, close off the analytical mind. Okay? So what I've been teaching you guys here are alternative methods to the Kachari mudra, but there's one more that we can do. Okay? And like I said, this goes to Forrest Knudsen because he shared a video about this, about a Kachari alternative. I've been trying it and it works really, really good. So all you're doing is you're just keeping your jaw somewhat open. Kind of like that, right? You can kind of close your mouth if you want to, but you want your jaw somewhat open, okay? As you're doing that, you're just resting your tongue. You're keeping your tongue as still as possible. So basically, you're noticing that your tongue kind of curls back a little bit, and it's just resting there, right? So you don't want your jaw, completely tight like that. You want it opened somewhat. And you're just resting your tongue. You're keeping your tongue very, very rested, right? And it slightly curls back as you rest the tongue. And as you stay there, and as you relax the tongue a lot more, this is actually what's also helping to cease the chattering monkey mind, okay? So just like we were doing about the peripheral pillars and taking in all the senses at the same time, that too is one alternative. The second alternative is working with the Kachari mudra alternative, okay? So I could refer to it just as the stilled tongue. So you're just keeping your tongue still, because what is the tongue? Well, the tongue is responsible for our speech. So when we bring the tongue to rest, when we keep it calm, keep it quiet, and just keep it still, right? We're not feeling that urge to talk. We're not looking at that urge to verbalize. We're not looking at that urge to go into the brain and just start chatting about everything, right? It just stills the mind. That's the Kachari alternative. So that's something else that you can use as well too. So again, the steps are, have your mouth, your jaw slightly open, okay? So kind of like this, like that. And you can close your mouth. And you're just very, very gently curling your tongue back, just like this. Right, so if this is the tongue here, where it's flat out, we're just kind of doing this. Okay, and it's just staying there. And you can relax the tongue a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And that's where you're going to notice that there's a great decreasing in your left brain mentality. Okay, so that's the key to going into the right brain. Okay, in order for us to go into the right brain, in order for us to go into the collective consciousness, to go into the Akashic records, the Hall of Amenti, the God mind, we have to completely stop the activity of the left brain. That's what it takes, okay? Because if we're still having that surging energy coming into the left brain, then you're still active there, right? That's still an activity. It's kind of like you're closing off temporarily one aspect of the brain and you're moving into the right brain, right? Because this becomes temporarily inactive because we're not feeding it. We're keeping it very still. And then we move on into the right brain. And now we go into that expansiveness. We go into that spaciousness. We go into that calmness, that serenity, that tranquility, where we're seeing the big picture. It's like we see the picture of the big jigsaw puzzle. Everything comes together. But for a response to come through to you, when you're again asking a question, when you're inquiring, the right brain again uses that infinity sign, as I was talking about before in previous episodes. It uses the left brain to be the translator for the information that you're asking for. Right? So therefore it shares that information with you. You can share it through images, through words, through thoughts, etc. Okay, left brain is being the interpreter, it's being the translator. So we're going into the right brain, which is basically the universal database of everything, of all that is, the God mind. We put our inquiry there. Okay? And that inquiry can just be a simple thought, right? We can use a thought to transmit as we still the mind. It can be something we say out loud, right? And then it goes into the right brain, and then again, the transmission begins after you complete your meditation, because that's what you're instructing the collective unconscious to do. Send me the download once I'm finished. Once I'm done my meditation, you can then send me the download, right? And now you get the download, right? And I've basically just used my phone afterwards, because I'll start doing like the talking text, because it's really good for me to talk out my download as it comes through. And some of it has just been in regards to deeper inner work for myself. Some of it has been involving practices as well too. And it works. It works every single time. So it's a wonderful thing. So the key here is just to getting your mind, your left brain, nice and quiet, so you can move forward into the right brain. Neurological reconditioning. You got it. Exactly. This is something that's just been around for thousands of years, right? Before we even had a scientific term for it. It's exactly what the yogis and sages and ancient masters were doing. They would still the left brain, right? A lot of them would do Kachari mudra, right? And they would keep that left brain completely quiet. And then they'd go into the right brain, and they would just be in that spaciousness. They would be in that expanse. A lot of them didn't even have any questions. They just wanted to go into stillness. And you can do that as well too. You don't have to have inquiries to go into the right brain. In fact, if you're inquiryless, that's even better, because now you can just enjoy the splendor of all that is as you are present in the God mind, as you're present in the God space, right? It's a beautiful, wonderful, amazing thing. Okay. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about brainwave states. Okay, I have elaborated on this a little bit in the past, but I want to go over them today because these are also helpful practices that you can utilize as well. Okay. Does anybody remember how we go into the alpha state? How we go into the alpha state naturally? Just like this. Okay, that's all we're doing. We're lifting our eyes up. We're lifting our gaze up. Okay, that's the natural alpha state. So the more that you can stay there, right, where you're just keeping your eyes up, you're not straining them in any particular way. It's not like you're turning them all the way up in the back of your head, but you're just lifting up. Just like you say, look up. Okay, and we stay there. And it's kind of like your eyes are just glued upwards. And you can kind of feel a sensation, right? A tingling sensation as well too, as you do it more over time. That's moving you much more into the alpha state. Now, the more that you remain yourself in that particular type of alpha state, the more that your brain chemistry is going to shift itself appropriately so that you can actually become a natural alpha. Okay? There are people that say, you know, there's some people I've met that are naturally aligned into the alpha state, right? It's not to say they've been doing this their whole life, right? But they just have that natural function. So you have the ability to rewrite yourself, and just doing this and keeping yourself doing that as frequently as possible. And then if you have a type of EEG device, kind of like this, you can monitor your alpha brainwave states. Okay? So two of my powerful brainwave states through the EEG that I've noticed is the alpha and the delta. Right? Those two are very well stepped up. Okay? So the alpha definitely is the easiest. It's the simplest brainwave state that we can attune to, right? Of course, we're all in natural beta, really, when we're getting active, right? When we're going through the world, having conversations, etc. But to just go into the alpha, very, very simple. That's it. And we just stay like that. If we can stay like that for as long as you can, you're not straining the eyes, you're not bringing in any tension, you're just simply looking up. Okay? And it's like a tractor beam. It just kind of moves your eyes upwards, and as you do this more and more over time, there's just that little energy pull that keeps you up there looking. And it's really good as well too, because when you're in that alpha, you notice that your thoughts start to quiet down. As you're looking up, the thoughts also start to die down. Okay? So it's another technique, putting you into a natural alpha state. And as you do this more and more, you will become a natural alpha. You're rewiring the neurological hardware. and you're now moving much more into a natural alpha state, and you can confirm that just grabbing a piece of EEG hardware, okay, like the Muse headband, for example. And you can test yourself. It's not like it's going to happen right away, but it's going to happen gradually, more and more over time, as you wear that headband, and then you monitor yourself and saying, oh, okay, the decibel rate on the alpha is really, really high up there. So there's a lot more activity going on in the alpha brainwave. It's because I've been doing this a lot. Right? Even just going into quiet states of meditation will amplify all of your brainwaves. Okay? When I've looked into my own EEG hardware and seen my brainwave states, a lot of them are stepped up. Well, that's 13 years experience of being a channeler. Right? Going into a channeled state, bringing Adronis through, Rayar through, etc., and being able to have these conversations. And when I was in those channeling states, that's really what was stepping up the intensity, the activity of those brainwaves. So that stays with me, even though I'm not channeling anymore. That ability still remains, right? People who channel, or who are mediums as well too, who do a lot of psychic readings, for example, their brainwave states are usually very powerful, right? Because they know how to quiet themselves down. They know how to listen to their source. So whether they're being a medium, whether they're being a channel, whether they're, again, connecting directly to spirit, and they're sharing this insight, they know how to do it, right? They know how to go into the quiet. They know how to center themselves. And now they start sharing that information from their source. And as they've been doing it for several years, you slap an EEG piece of hardware on them, and you'll notice that their brain waves are very, very strong. Okay. What I've noticed a lot, too, is that women have very, very strong brainwave states. Okay. So when I'm looking at some of the women's testimonials of them using EEG hardware, their brainwave states are just basically at the same level as mine, right? Very, very strong. Women tend to have that a lot more. With men, not so much. But we can work on it a lot more, right? A lot of men are just basically built more so for looking at things logically, looking at things on the outside. But of course, I'm not talking about everybody, right? I used to be like that myself. We can all go inside, and if we're just taking much more time to be a lot more introversial, and we're actually going inside and we're just quieting our mind, just like I'm teaching you guys here how to do that by going into the right brain, you're going to really step up the amplification capabilities of your brainwave states. So again, the more that you just continue to practice, the more that you're, again, looking up in the alpha state, keeping yourself there, or again, just going into a meditation state and just working to keep your mind as quiet as possible and keeping yourself like a granite statue. Okay? That's also very, very important. We want to just try and keep ourselves as motionless as possible, right? Of course, we're breathing, right? We're probably doing a lot more abdominal breathing, okay, than anything else. But it still is very soft and very delicate. Even when we're doing heart rate variability, right? It's okay, it's soft and it's delicate. It's not, right? We're not doing that. It's very soft. It's very delicate when you're doing heart rate variability, right? So you're not trying to push anything. You're not getting too intense. You're not trying to burn yourself out. Be delicate. Be soft with yourself. Okay, that's the essence of meditation, right? If you're trying to blow yourself up and just putting so much breath into yourself that you just start to feel like you're conking out and then you're just kind of losing track, it's not what we're doing. We're not trying to blow ourselves up. We're not trying to get overworked through the nature of meditation. Hey, we're just keeping ourselves nice and calm, nice and relaxed. Okay, we're not doing the Wim Hof breath here, guys. That's something completely different. The Wim Hof breath is very good, I would say more so for survival situations. Okay, there is some health benefits to it, but the whole idea is if you're doing this and this, okay, you're really, firstly, taking in all of that air through the mouth, which really should not be done, right? A yogi would basically frown at that idea. Okay, they would say no, nasal breath. Okay, work with the nose, breathing into the nose, breathing out the nose. The nose is a natural air filter. Okay, the mouth is not. Like I said, if you're basically submerged in super cold water, then yeah, you probably want to do something like the Wim Hof breath. And yes, there are benefits to it. I'm not saying it's not, right? There can be a lot of benefits to the Wim Hof breath, but that's not what we're doing here. It's not even really called the Wim Hof breath. It's just Tumo. That's all it is. All he's doing is a modification of the Tumo technique, I know what that's like. I've demonstrated that on Vice TV. I was locked inside a freezer truck for 35 minutes doing the Tumo technique, the Tumo breath, okay? And so someone who has done this, someone who's gone through training, someone who's basically sat into freezing cold water and sat in an ice cold truck for 35 minutes, right? Really, really cold. I can tell you that that is just mainly for survival purposes, okay? Or life or death situations, right? If you want to recover from an illness, do the Wim Hof breath, okay? If you're recovering from a lot of these extremes, Wim Hof breath is great for that, okay? But doing this on a daily basis, no, that can be a lot more detrimental than beneficial, because what it's also doing is it's activating your adrenal glands a lot more too. And if we keep putting a lot of adrenaline into our system, well, adrenaline itself is toxic, right? It's an emergency supply. That's the nature of adrenaline, right? We get bouts of it throughout the day so that we get the energy we need and accomplish things. But again, it's kind of like nitrous oxide. It's like when you have a car, right, and you're shooting the nitro, you're going 100, 120, 150 miles an hour. Well, that's the whole idea. That's not really good for the car. That's not really good for the engine. You're using that extra reserve to push yourself forward. And at times we'll need that. We'll need some of that extra adrenaline to push ourselves through extreme situations. But if we're invoking that daily, you're taking in a lot of adrenaline toxicity, and that really hurts your body. That basically just degrades the organs over time with adrenaline residue. We don't want to do that. Okay, so we want to work together with nose breathing. Okay, so this is where heart rate variability would be the winner here. Okay, it gets the green check mark. So please remember that. I'm not saying anything bad about Wim Hof. He's a great guy, right? And he has something very, very powerful that you can use, and it is quite beneficial, but it's being used much more in the idea of extreme situations. That would be my take on it. Okay? So when we're working with the heart rate variability, very gentle, very relaxed, very calm, slow breaths through the nose and out to the nose. All right? Like I said, this is your natural air filter. Work with the nose as much as possible. If you're talking to a yogi, you're doing yoga, they will always say, never breathe out through the mouth. They caught you breathing out through the mouth, they'd probably bitch you out like crazy. Right? They said, what are you doing? I did not tell you to breathe out through the mouth. Why are you doing that? Right? They'll get pretty huffy at you. Okay, so make sure that you're breathing in and out to the nose when you're doing heart rate variability, even when you're doing yoga. Okay, when you're doing yoga, very, very good to breathe in and out to the nose. A lot of teachers will say just breathe out through the breath or through the mouth. Wouldn't be a good idea. Right? We want to try and keep things through the natural filter, which is the nose. Okay, that's my own take on it. Take it as you will. All right. So what about the theta state, Brad? Let's go into the theta state. If we can work on stimulating the theta state a lot more, how can we do that? Okay. So like I've talked about in the past, when we're going into the theta state, it's basically that as you envision something, your body is reacting to it. Okay. So one of the easiest ways for you to get in the theta state, for those of you who have kind of sensitive arm hair, okay, is doing this. If you're slowly blowing on your arm and you get that chill, you get those goosebumps, that's the theta state. Anything that emits, that basically triggers goosebumps on yourself is you going into the theta state, okay? That's just one way, okay? Another way, like I said, is visual stimulation. Like I said, if you're hungry, you haven't eaten all day, and you close your eyes and you're holding up like a big sandwich here, and you're just so hungry, you can just really vividly visualize that sandwich coming closer to your mouth and your salivary glands start going crazy, okay? That's a theta state. So again, it's the idea that the chills, that chill sensation, goosebumps, right, where you get chills up and down your spine as well too, that's a part of theta, okay? Your body's reacting. Again, visual stimulation with the mind and the body reacts, right? So even when a person has an erection, for example, when they're doing a visualization and they get an erection, okay, that is a theta state. So again, it's your visualization that you're getting. You're basically just going off into a daydream, okay, but it's a very vivid type of daydream, right? So I'm holding up a sandwich, right? An erection happens. I won't go into much detail. Visually, right? Maybe you see a very attractive person and you're getting that sexual energy flowing. Okay, and an erection happens. That is a theta state. I'm not saying you have to do that, but that's one particular example. Or again, softly blowing on your arm, and if that triggers goosebumps, that's great. Even the idea of feeling a great deal of excitement, right? If you're feeling really excited, right, you get into a daydream and you're feeling really excited about something that's just giving you chills, okay? That feeling of chills, that feeling of goosebumps, right, is the idea of the theta state, okay? When you're going into dilated eyes, okay, dilated eyes is actually the alpha state, okay? So when your eyes dilate, you're going into alpha. When your eyes are up here, you're going into alpha, okay? When you get goosebumps, when you get chills, okay, theta, okay? When you're getting bodily reactions to visualizations that you're doing, that's theta, okay? What about the delta? How are we able to get into that? Dreamless sleep. The more that you are actually able to accomplish dreamless sleep, just taking naps like this, and you're just out and you don't know how that happened, right? If you're constantly taking those kind of naps with dreamless sleep, that can spike up your delta, okay? Now, my delta was more so spiked up through meditation and through channeling, right? Because like I said, alpha and delta are my two strongest, highest intensities of brainwave states. Theta is pretty good. My theta is pretty good. And my gamma is stepping up a lot more, right? What about gamma? Gamma, we don't really know, right? Gamma is just something that you really cannot control at this time. But basically, the more that you're moving more into that still meditation, because that's what I've been doing as of late, and I notice that my gamma has been increasing a lot more. So I would say you really can't invoke yourself into the gamma. But what you're doing, as long as you're working with a lot more of the stillness meditation, that over time is going to step up your gamma frequencies. When you're also getting a great deal of downloads as well too, right? If you're going into the right brain quite a bit and you're making inquiries, or again, you're just getting a lot of love vibration, you can basically go into the right brain and want to be saturated with bliss, and you get bliss, right? So that's just, you just say bliss, right? Right after my meditation. After the meditation is done, you're just raining down. You're having all this blissful energy raining down on you, right? I'm getting to the point right now where I can just say the word bliss and it happens, okay? And again, that's just a meditative state, right? You're going into the meditative state and you just say bliss, right? And that bypasses the BCR technique completely. I'm not saying everybody can do that. This is an advanced technique, right? But as you start to do the BCR technique for a while, right, or if you've done the EQ method with me already, that's about it. The EQ method is the full version. The BCR technique is the miniature version of the old EQ method, but it's still very effective, right? The black ball, white ball technique is also a small miniaturized version of the first version of the EQ method. The second version is a little bit different, but the first version, right, I did that all the time. And so BCR was included, black ball, white ball was included, and then you just get these bliss hits. You get powerful states of bliss flowing through you. Like I said, when you're doing the BCR and you feel your arms out to here, you feel 10 out of 10 on the scale with the love energy, you're compressing that ball, you're putting it into your heart, and you just sit there for a moment, right? And you feel the bliss flowing through you. And you're so incredibly blissed out, nothing can take you out of that, right? You're completely imperturbable. And now you look down at all that old grime representing conflicts and you command it, and within seconds you start to feel the activity completely nullifying all of those old conflicts away. Okay, that's the great secret to the BCR. It brings you into bliss. It brings you into happiness. It brings you into great love. That's what the black ball, white ball does as well too. That's what the first and second versions of the EQ method do as well too. All right. So keep working with the BCR technique. And like I said, as you start to get a lot more advanced with it, I'd say, I don't know, I couldn't even put a date on it, right? Just keep doing it each and every day as it feels more natural to you. You could try that. You just say the word bliss, okay? Or maybe you say happiness, or maybe you say love, or maybe you say compassion, right? And just, you feel that raining down of bliss coming to you on command, okay? That is very, very powerful, because what you're actually doing is you're building up your love potency. You're creating a potency of energy that is so incredibly thick that miracles can now be displayed through you. Your potency, I would just refer to it as your potency field. Your potency field of love vibration, of bliss vibration, is so powerful that you can just walk into a room, everybody will be calm. You can have a bunch of people just arguing. You come into the room, everybody stops. This can actually happen. Takes quite a bit of time, but what you're doing is you're just making that thin veil of love thicker, right? It's kind of like a layer of fat, but it's representing the idea of potent love vibrational energy, right? You're making it that thickness, that thick field, and you can actually just radiate it out and just be present with it. And like I said, there could be hostile situations all around you, but as soon as you step in, peace completely engulfs everything and all hostility stops. Because the only reason why hostility is present is because there's a great lack of that love energy. If you hold a great deal of potent love vibrational energy within yourself, that potent field, and you're stepping into that space, you're feeding that space all the love energy to trigger harmony. It's like I said, harmony is the result of perfection realized, right? So you're stepping into that space. Doesn't matter what it is, right? It could be a bedroom, could be an auditorium, could be a movie theater, could just be out in the street, right? Or a person being hostile. And here you are doing your work, having all of your potent love energy. Those people just lose the will to argue because love fills them. Because this person has so much potent love energy flowing through them, they stop, right? Can you imagine if you have thousands or millions of humans walking around the planet with super potent love energy? What it does? That's the ceasing to all war. That's the ceasing to all conflict. The intention to be corrupt, the intention to be manipulative, the intention to be hostile dies because it's a starvation. It's a gluttony. So when we get angry, it's a gluttony. It's a roaring belly because it's starved of love energy. When you bring that love energy into that space, they're getting a meal. That meal of love energy is quenching that hunger relating to a roaring belly or to gluttony, right? So that gluttony is lack, right? Because it's starving. It's a roaring belly. It's just rumbling constantly because it needs love and it doesn't have any. And so because it doesn't have any, it starts to grumble. It starts to get irritated. It starts to get frustrated. It starts to get angry. It starts to get irritable, okay? But as soon as a person comes in with that potent energy, all gone. It's an amazing thing. Hugs will be my word. Great. Yeah, you can use any word you want. That's the whole idea. But like I said, just keep working with something like the BCR technique. Keep working with your meditation daily. All right? And as you get used to your love energy, because this is the deciding factor here. As you get used to your love energy, you can now command it. All right? You can send it out. Right? And like I said, you can even accumulate a lot more just through one word. Right? So like I said, you're just present with this field. You go out into the world, that energy is being sent out. You can say a trigger word that can bring more love energy into you, right? But it should be as blissful as like what you would experience in meditation or BCR technique or EQ or anything of that nature, right? It needs to be as blissful as that, right? So if you know your 10 out of 10 feeling and you're able to reproduce that just by creating a trigger word, right? Then you're noticing that bliss energy just as strong as the BCR, and you're there. And this, again, like I said, this bypasses the entire BCR technique, if you're able to do that. But do the BCR technique first, right? Get used to it. Don't be in a hurry, okay? Because you have to know what that 10 out of 10 love energy feels like within you. You have to really take it in. I would say you have to investigate. You have to investigate what that love energy is like when you're 10 out of 10 after you're doing your BCR. What does it feel like? Oh my God, I feel just so much lighter. It's like my energy just feels lighter than air. I feel completely free. There's no shackles on me whatsoever. I'm a free spirit. And I get this tingling sensation all over my body, right? I can feel like there's a halo around my head here, because there actually is. and I can feel all of this uplifting energy, and it feels incredible. Okay, so now we want to reproduce that as we say a key word, right? So maybe that's bliss, for example. That's my keyword. Okay, so I would say bliss, and all of a sudden I can feel that blissful energy raining down upon me, and I just start laughing. I start laughing spontaneously. I can feel tingles coming through the body. I just feel lighter than air. There's no shackles. Everything's just free. You're a free spirit. That's one example. Okay, so work on it. Give that a try. And like I said, work together with the brainwave states, enhancing them. Okay, like I said, quiet meditation, stilled meditation is what's going to seriously increase your capability of enhancing and amplifying your brainwave states. Okay, there's your alpha. Dilating your eyes is your alpha. Goosebumps and chills is your theta. Mental visualization together and your body reacting to it is your theta. Going into dreamless sleep is your delta. Or again, going into deep stilled meditation can be your delta, as well as your gamma. Getting downloads, right? And just constantly talking to spirit all the time as well too. And I think that also steps up the gamma frequency. The gamma frequency, like I said, is more of an enigma. We don't really know too much about it, but we know how powerful it is when it really steps in, because that's the frequency of download. When you get a download, it's just like that instant. If you put it in slow motion and you could just see that instance where you see that flash of light, that's the gamma frequency. The gamma frequency is delivering that to you. It's pure bliss. It's pure consciousness. It's wonderful. So yeah, a lot of investigation into the gamma frequency still needs to be done. And it's very, very powerful, because I noticed I'm stepping up a lot more with the gamma frequency. Going into meditation, talking to spirit, right? Getting these downloads. This is what really helps nurture it a lot more. Okay? All right, guys, so let's take a couple questions. We're going to wrap up here pretty quick. So I'm just going to see if there are any questions here. I think we're just going to take one question today, because we're almost out of time. Maybe we'll take two. Donna says, what about my friend that rolls her eyes when she disagrees with people? That's a very different phenomenon, Donna, right? That's not the alpha state. Usually when you're rolling your eyes, you're doing this. You're actually going off into an angle, okay? The alpha state is straight up. It's like this, okay? If I'm basically telling you to take your finger and point up, you're just looking upwards like this. When a person's like, what are they doing, okay? If you're telling a bad joke and I go like this, am I looking straight up? No. I'm looking at an angle, right? So what I'm doing is I'm actually looking into memory, right? I'm looking into creative imagination, etc. Okay, that's a very different phenomenon. That's not going into the alpha, because you're not going to have a person go like this. No. That's very, very different. They're doing this, right? Or they're rolling their eyes. Like, yeah, whatever. Kind of like that. It just becomes kind of an egoic response, right? It's very, very different. When you're doing this, different ball game, right? That's the alpha state. Okay, and I'll end with interesting things question here. How do old generations handle the ascension? For example, my grandmother, who can remember World War II, hunger, and basically lives in 3D, does she benefit from the ascension energies at all? Again, you guys have to understand that this is not something outside of yourself, okay? It's not about you catching a cold and thinking that that's the ascension. The ascension is something that you have to personally work with, right? You have to ascend yourself, okay? I'm not talking about you transforming into a light body, sprouting wings, and then disappearing from the material plane. When we're looking into the idea of a personal advancement or ascension in that way, we are growing ourselves, we're maturing ourselves. Look at these great yogis and these great sages of India. Do you see them bursting into light as soon as they go into meditation? No. You're not looking at ascension outside. If you do, you're following the inverted pentagram path. Remember what I have said, interesting things. Remember what I have said, guys. It's not about thinking that your outside world is going to transform you. That is the effect plane. It's the inner world. It's your causal. This is your causal. This is where the cause is. This is where everything happens. It's not about a person who says, I sneeze, achoo, hey, I got ascension abilities now. It doesn't work that way. It's through your inner work. It's through your inner development. It's through your inner attractions, right? It's through your inner stimulation. It's through your inner growth. It's through your inner maturity. That is up to the person. That is not up to the environment. The environment really has no power whatsoever. It's nothing but a reflective projection. The ability for you to move into ascension-like experiences comes through within yourself, through your inner discipline, through your inner balancing, through your inner growth, through your inner maturity, through your inner wisdom. That's what it entails. That's you moving further beyond the idea of the physical plane. You no longer associate with old perspectives that you once did. You've put them to rest. They've buried. They're in the grave. And now you're seeing things with a greater depth perception. And that, in its own way, is a type of ascension experience because you're making an ascent, right? You're moving yourself up and you're seeing things from a higher ground, right? Adronis always referred to that as advancement, not the idea of ascension. And I would agree with the same thing, right? It's an advancement, okay? But yes, you're making an ascent. It's kind of like you're climbing up a mountain. But you will come to a point where you'll be at the summit. And at the summit, you don't move. At the summit, you're just still. At the summit, you are the I am. That's the difference. So do not look into the idea of something outside that is going to trigger the idea of an ascension experience. That's not how it works. Everything is from within. Okay? Go within. That's where everything happens. All right? I get people saying, Brad, you always say that message. Go within. Go within. Go within. How is this new? It's not new. Teachers have been sharing that very phrase for thousands of years, and they will continue to share it for more thousands of years until people get it through their thick heads. To go within. That's why it's an answer that stands the test of time. Go within, and you have all of your answers. Go within, and you have harmony. Go within, and you have bliss. Go within, and you know that you are God. Simple as that. So I'll keep saying it till it sinks in, as one of those people who are giving those answers. All right. Thank you guys for again being part of New Earth Practices today. So again, join me tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific, where we'll be going into the brand new live stream, which again is New Earth Insights. Okay. So starting tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific, and every Tuesday following as well too. Okay. So again, when you have questions, they're semi-personal and general in nature. If you have personal questions, well, that's where one of my sessions comes in, okay? So thank you again for joining me today, and I'll speak to you all tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific. Be well, and take care.